no matter where you are, no matter when you are. Good morning. All right, friends, welcome back to another week. Happy 6th of July now. Uploading on a Thursday due to 4th of July. I went out of town to hang out with some friends and family. All right, so news today. I have, 5 stories. A couple of them are pretty interesting. The others are important. So let's go ahead and start off with our interesting one. So if you haven't heard by now, Elon Musk tweeted a while ago that he would love to fight Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook. Now, there's a proverbial joke here about Facebook and Twitter fighting each other in the ring for dominant social media, but never did we think that we would get the literal version of this joke where we have our gentleman here, Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Elon Musk, actually might be fighting in a cage match. This is definitely a repercussion and effect of social media. A lot of those like TikTok and YouTuber fights that happened over the past few years, that's something that I think definitely heavily influenced this. I think a lot of the world had moved away from physical violence to solve issues and confrontations, and these YouTubers and TikTokers brought it back. They're like, let's just throw our fist at each other's faces and risk brain damage for money and entertainment of something that barely matters at all. Well, that's now bled into the realm of business, where we now have two titans, two juggernauts in industry, but not in fighting, want to fight each other in a cage match, to the point where they've even hit up Dana White, the leader of the UFC, and he is trying to make it happen. So I wanted to start off with that fun one if you haven't heard about it yet. We'll see if it happens. If it does happen, all money on Elon. Don't like the guy, but he'll win 100%. All right. The U.S., we are destroying the last of our chemical weapons. Now, before World War I and II, the world was allowed to have chemical weapons, weapons that are so diabolically evil, I won't begin to describe the things they can do and did do to people on this channel, because I will get, age restricted and not allowed to have ads in the future, possibly. So I want to make sure that we be careful with our words here. But since 1918, the United States has not used chemical weapons, except for a few instances in Vietnam where they used the chemical orange. Now, as you can see, there's giant vats of chemicals, and what they're doing is they're having little yellow robots in these places, in these massive bunkers, take these shells that look like this. And what they're doing with these shells is they're having the robot take it into a confined room, run it through a draining process where they actually insert something into the metal to create a seal, but not, or to break the seal, but not to blow up the tank. The robots then, clean it, and then that's when the humans get in the gear like this. They go into the room, they check it out, they check the radiation. Some of these tanks have been sitting since 1918 or longer. So shouts out to us for finally getting rid of these. It's something that we don't need. It's something we haven't used in forever, so why do we have them? I think this is a good thing that we're doing here. Also getting scrap metal out of it. So, hey, go build some. Might be fun. All right. Visiting a story that we talked about last week in France. The protests are still going on. On the third night, which is what this article is from, but I'm using an AP article to get some more of our facts here. So, on the third night of the riots, we saw a lot happening. On the third night alone, 400 people were arrested, so that's last week, Thursday. We also see 40,000 police officers were deployed throughout the country of France. Now, in this third protest night, we see 40 cars got burned, 24 cops were injured, and multiple people were arrested. Now, jump forward to today, 7 days later, here are our new numbers. So we went from 400 people being arrested last week to now 3,600 people are detained for rioting in France. We went from 24 injured police officers to having over 700 injured police officers in France. So it's very important to see that this isn't calming down. In America, when George Floyd was murdered, we had protests and we had riots, and they lasted for, about a week. And, other events happen and we'd protest for a day or two. This is the first time something like this has happened in France in forever. It happens here literally all the time. And they're still going nuts after a week. They're a week and 3 days in. 2 weeks and 3 days in it now. They're showing their belief, they're showing their message, and they're showing their views, something that, needs to be done by the people of a country to protect themselves and their own rights. So props to France. Now, this one is a very, very complicated story that I don't have all the time in the world to break down. But what I want to do with it is describe the outlines. So, social media battle. Right now, Twitter and the US government are going at it for reasons you might not think. A while ago, during Biden's administration running for presidency and then obtaining presidency, there were some backdoor business deals made with brands like Twitter. Now, they weren't like deals to get votes. They weren't rigging elections. They weren't manipulating voters. They weren't doing any of that. What they were doing is there was a lot of personal and very private information about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, that was being spread throughout the internet in any way that it could. And Twitter was one of the main ways it was being spread, through people's DMs and timelines. So to combat this, Biden's administration tried to work with Twitter, giving them money, making deals, contracts to shadow ban anyone who used these, private documents or these private images. Shadow banning meaning that it doesn't tell you you're banned, but you're banned. It makes you think that you're active, but you're not. It also happened where other people were straight up fully banned, including members of the press, members of the media, members of the news. So that's where people got really upset, and they're like, wait, why is this newscaster, why is this journalist banned all of a sudden? Freedom of speech, especially on Twitter. After Elon bought it, that's the whole point. He wanted freedom of speech. So there's an ongoing issue between, the U.S. government and Twitter right now, where did they overstep the First Amendment freedom of speech clause, or is protecting the privacy of an American leader and their family considered important or classified enough for Twitter to have taken the actions they did under the influence of the Biden administration? Now, there's two things I want to talk about out of this before we move on. Now, the Justice Department was examining the judge's lengthy order to determine what activities must be halted when it comes to communicating their concerns about the spread of information. So, in other words, the court made their decision. And their decision is kind of gray. They kind of said it depends on the situation, which is the largest cop-out ever. Now, I have a quote from Leah Littman and Lawrence H. Tribe, who wrote on their security blog. These are people who are political analysts. Now, they're quoted saying, "The court's order, which prevents the government from even speaking with a tech company about their content moderation policies, deals a huge blow to vital government efforts in a hardened U.S. democracy against the threats of misinformation." In other words, so the government might not even be allowed to talk to some of these companies that are trying to censor people. So that creates a large loophole of, well, when do you step in? Well, who's allowed? Who's not allowed? Are you going to choose people you like, or are you only going to go after people you don't like? That's not equality. That's not democracy. That's personal vengeance. So this story is a lot going on, and really only time will tell how much this will affect our First Amendment right. Now, our last story is probably our best story in terms of positivity. So in China, we found the world's tallest tree. That's crazy. So we see the previous record was held with a height of 330 feet, or 100.8 meters, found in Malaysia. Well, some researchers at Peak University found out that in a nature preserve in the Himalayas in Cyprus, Cyprus Taurus, we're going to go with that, has grown to 335 feet, or 102.3 meters. That's awesome. And there's still a lot of forest to go. There's still more trees growing. This tree might still be growing. Who knows? But this was a little cool piece of news that I wanted to share. I mean, here, you start at the top of that image. You try scrolling down. Look at that. Look at it. We're still going. Friends. Wow. Isn't that cool? Well, everyone, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments. Email me, whatever you need to do. Please remember to like and comment. Subscribing is the least of my worries. Just like it and comment. Tell me the stories you liked. Tell me stories you want me to talk about next time. All that good stuff. Till next time, friends, it's been a pleasure.